several announcements. One announcement, I decided just to give everybody points for the test because I can't go out and delete the problem that I wanted to delete. So I'm just going to give everybody after the test, I'm going to give everybody that amount of points. How many questions are on the test? The second test, the trig test. How many questions are on it?
I believe like 29 or 28.
29, so they're like 3 points apiece. So I will give everybody points, 3, 4 points, or however much it's worth on that test. So just wait until the due date is over, and I will give everybody points for that one because I can't go through and take it out. So I'm just going to, and I need to get on with the good stuff anyway, the identities, because that's what makes up a majority of your calculus. So number one, I'm going to give points for the triangle problem. Okay, problem that we did, and I must have made a slight error or something because it came out to be totally different. 2, I'm going to start new material today. I'm going to start the identities today because we're going to spend a lot of time in the identities, because if you can't do the identities, you can get by with not being able to do right angle trig and still make it through calculus, but you can't do it without the identities. All right, especially in second semester calculus. Second semester calculus is where you're going to hit the identities really hard. So we need to make sure that you understand the identities. Those are the 2 things I just wanted to talk about today. And if you have any questions about your test, I heard somebody say something about a bracket. You know, if you missed a question because of the bracket, see me after class and I'll change the grade, okay? There's no sense in you having to go in and take a test over because of a bracket or because you left off a comma or anything like that. So, you know, please let me know. But you got to let me know after class, okay? All right. Now, the trig identities, I'm going to go ahead and bring them up. And the ones we're going to be working with today are pretty much the most important ones. So I'll just bring them in. Hold on just a second. And I would highly suggest that you get a cheat sheet, print it out. I tell people to print out the green and white one, and it's got all the trig identities. Did you ever print it out? I remember you asking me about it. Somebody in here asking me about the green and white one.
I remember it.
Somebody asked me, or one of the other classes, I can't remember. One of the other, did somebody at Pendleton campus ask me? They're not going to ask me. Anyway, there's the 3 that we're going to use today, all right, or the 3 sets of trig identities. So make sure you write those down, and we're going to get started on some. And I've got about 8 to 10, 8 to 12 examples. Some of them are pretty basic, but I also want to make sure that I'm teaching to the person that's never had it before, okay? I'm not teaching to the person that's had it and invented the Pythagorean identities. I'm not teaching to those people. I'm teaching to the people that, you know, are real rusty or basically haven't seen them in a while or whatever the case may be. So the first one we're going to go over, and I went ahead and wrote them out because we didn't want to mess them up, is going to be the sine of theta times the cosecant, I can't write, of theta minus the sine of theta. Now when you have one like this, you just want to rewrite it. Now there's one rule about identities. Does anybody know the one kind of helpful rule of identity? Anybody?
The only one.
Nope.
Oh, no.
Anybody want to give me a hint? Has any of your past pre-calculus instructors ever given you a hint about how to write or do identities? Did they give you any hint?
Oh, change the cosecant to 1 over sine.
Always try to write terms in different terms in terms of sine and what?
Cosine.
Cosine. Write that down. Always try to rewrite in terms of sine and cosine. That is one of the best hints I can give you. Therefore, you're working with a lot of these identities right here. Okay? So the first thing I would do is see if there's anything in there that you can rewrite in terms of sine and cosine. So, is there anything you can write in terms of sine and cosine? The cosecant. The cosecant can be written in 1 over sine. So you change it to 1 over sine. So that's sine, 1 over sine, minus sine. Now finish it out. Now, one thing you're going to find out about calculus is that calculus is 10 to 20% new material and 80 to 90% what? Not previous. Starts with A.
Algebra.
Algebra. Identities is 10 to 20% new material and 80 to 90% what? Algebra. So now we're going to what? We're going to distribute. That's going to give us sine over sine minus what? Sine squared. Now, you will see me leave off the theta. Is that going to stop the world from revolving?
No.
Okay, so I'm not telling you to start bad habits, but when you're working on problems on a test, just worry about putting the theta or the x in the answer, but don't let it slow you up because it's a lot of extra writing. You don't have to. I'm not telling you. I'm just saying I don't need some person saying, excuse me, Mr. McClory, you didn't put the x. Shut up. I don't need to know that, okay? All right, so what's sine over sine? 1 minus sine squared, and 1 minus sine squared is equal what? Cosine squared theta. Okay, so make sure you understand what we just did. We just rewrote an identity. We just rewrote a trig sentence in terms of another. And what you're learning here is how to manipulate. Yes?
So you're saying that you don't care about theta and we don't have to care about it much either?
No, I didn't say that. No, don't try to make me out to where you go to calculus next semester and go, Hubert told us not to write theta. No, I didn't say that. I said that while you're doing your homework, it's not going to stop the world from revolving if you write a sentence and don't put theta. But make sure you put it where?
In the answer.
Because you're going to have some smart aleck teacher mark the whole problem wrong because you put cosine squared. Okay? All right, let's do another one. And we got a lot of these to do because they get a little bit more challenging in the second and third section of chapter 9. So you got to crawl before you can walk. Let's do another. I wish I could add that on here. I'm just going to erase it because I don't want to have to bring that in each time. I'm just going to erase that whole thing. Yeah. I'm going to have to erase. I'll try something else next time. Let me see where the boundary is for this guy. Okay, so is there a white mark? There's not any markers in here, is there? Nope. There's not a marker anywhere in here. I wonder. I was gonna mark this so I wouldn't hit it with the eraser. Well, I'll do the best. Okay, there we go. Believe you me, I know what I'm doing. Just bear with me. It's close enough for government work. Okay, so sine squared. Now we're going to do a verify. And most of your questions on your test, on my test, are going to be verifying. Cosine theta is equal to secant theta minus cosine theta. Now, it doesn't matter which side you pick. It doesn't matter. I'm going to pick the right side because it's, you know, I mean, you can pick the left side if you want to, but I want you to prove that the right side is equal to the left side.
Well, first, wouldn't you turn the
Go ahead, get to work, start. Give everybody a couple of minutes. And yes, you're going to rewrite the secant like you said. Now, you said you would rewrite the secant as what? 1 over the what? 1 over cosine. And then minus cosine theta. Are we done? No. No, you're not. And this is what gets students. All right? You've got to remember not only algebra, but you've got to remember common what? Denominators. You got to remember common denominators that you learned back in basic math. Get a common denominator? It's cosine squared, right? Or, I'm sorry, cosine. So equal cosine minus cosine. That's a 1. Cosine will go into cosine. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 will go into cosine. Cosine times cosine is cosine what? All right, finish it. Again, the identities is not what's stopping you here. The algebra is not what's stopping you here. It's the basic math. Well, basic math and algebra. Because you're going to get stopped here. The stopping is not here. That's not where people go wrong. People go wrong because they can't do basic math and they can't do basic algebra. Same thing in calculus. If there's one thing I would tell you to take into a calculus class, what would it be? Your algebra notebook. This algebra notebook that you're doing right here, very valuable, that first unit. I'm sorry, your algebra notebook. That's not this notebook, the algebra notebook. Okay? So, what is this? Well, it is, if you use your common denominator and your fraction laws, you can put your numerator over what? 1 what? Well, what's 1 minus cosine squared?
Sine squared.
Sine squared. So, where is the identity? Right here. I'm going to highlight that because that's the new stuff, okay? This is the stuff right here. Right here, from there to there, that's the new stuff. The rest of it is what?
Algebra.
Algebra and basic math. And a lot of people do these things, and you know what they tell me? They say, well, I don't know where to start. Well, it doesn't matter. You just pick a side. Okay? There's not a hard side or a less difficult side. You just pick a side. Now, let's try this, and let's see if I can do it. Delete. I just learned how to do that today. Cotangent. How's your other polycons coming along? Yeah.
The only one.
Oh, I thought y'all had southern ones. My first class this morning, they having a hard time. Said that one teacher, instead of just putting it on the screen and presenting it, takes the camera and turns it to the screen.
That's weird.
No, it's just prehistoric.
Oh.
Okay, now I'm not going to pick cosine because you can't write cosine really unless you just write it what? In terms of, I don't know, 1 over the cosecant or 1 over the secant or whatever. So I'm not going to use that. But I'm going to do something with the cotangent and the cosecant. And it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. Y'all ever dealt with a Rubik's Cube? After you get to about the 7th or 8th algorithm of a Rubik's Cube, you start to see the colors start what? They start lining up. Well, that's the way these things are. You start seeing them line up after a while, and you start to say, okay, I got the algorithm. And there's only about 8, 9 steps to solving a Rubik's Cube. I suck at it, but I studied the algorithm. There is an algorithm. You can Google the algorithm for solving a Rubik's Cube, and it's only about 8 steps. And you just have to do it over and over and over. So, I can rewrite cotangent as the what? Cosine over the what? Cosine over the sine. And I can rewrite the cosecant as 1 over the sine. And when you divide a fraction by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal, and you feel good about yourself.
And imagine starting on cosine.
So you don't have to put smokestacks on your truck.
First step.
Probably.
Now, some of you may say, oh, these are easy. I invented them. Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad you invented them. But some of you may be saying, okay, I remember doing this, but I'm a little rusty.
Yeah.
Rusty, my name's Hubert. All right, so example 4. Let's see if I can do this again. I'll tell y'all a funny story about these nice boards and these Epson boards and projectors. Does anybody know anything about these things?
Nope.
They're very nice, okay? They're like Rolexes, okay? This board with this is very nice, okay? They put these things in 2 years ago, right before the fall semester. Does anybody want to know how many days before the fall semester?
Probably like 2.
Friday before the fall semester. Friday before the fall semester, they put these in. So that was 2 years ago. You know how much training we've had? 0. You got a lot of these boards, and they're sitting, some of y'all may see them in Pendleton. They're sitting in the room, and nobody's using them. In fact, they use them as a whiteboard. They use their markers on this system. But that's what you get when you don't teach. If you don't teach, that's what happens. I told everybody, I said, that ain't gonna work. You're not gonna be able to get teachers to use this technology if you don't train them. And of course, they don't. They don't. Yeah, I know what you mean, Hubert. Appreciate it, class.
Yep.
Mr. Swords, you have an idea what I'm talking about, don't you?
I do. We're just now getting them over here.
Well, yeah. Well, they've been at Pendleton, and there's people actually at Pendleton that have all their markers down here. They never turn the projector on, and they just use the whiteboard. Blows my mind.
That's sad.
So,
It's prehistoric.
all right. So, what you gonna pick? Well, I'm not gonna pick the tangent. I'm gonna pick the secant. This one's pretty easy, so you should be able to do this one without any trouble.
Message coming in.
It must be Miss Crittenden. It might be before Christmas. Hurry the hell up. Ever seen dang old Boomhauer playing golf? Dang old, tell you what, man, dang old turn that, dang old straighten that wrist, dang old speed it the hell up. Some of y'all don't even know who Boomhauer is.
Dang, well, that was fun.
Huh? Dang old one person, great. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I never liked that show.
I never liked it either.
Oh my God, I love it.
I haven't seen that show in years.
I'm gonna kick your ass. I can't even talk like that.
Whoa.
Oh,
They're just
it's
supposed to
so
bring-
funny, and that kid is so pitiful. He's almost as bad as the son on Dr. Pole. You ever seen Dr. Pole, the veterinarian?
No.
God, his son is worthless. They ought to just take a bat and beat him. I mean, he's just worthless.
That boy ain't right.
I'm sorry. I'm showing my racist tendencies. Sorry.
I heard someone say good Lord or
You know what happens when an Irishman drinks? He just don't know how to, don't know how to hold his liquor. All right. So I'm going to rewrite the secant as what? 1 over code what?
Cosine.
Good. And then sine over cosine is tangent. Now again, I want you to look at what we just did. The only thing that's new, technically,
Is
that. The rest of it is sine over 1, and you take your sine times 1 is sine, and 1 times cosine. You would be surprised on how many people, don't know what to do because their algebra or their mathematics is lacking. All right, let's try nerding. Now I'm showing you, and the reason we're not moving up in difficulty is because I'm showing you all the different ways that I can ask you a question. So far I've asked you how to rewrite, and now we're confirming. Now I'm going to throw one up here that's got 3 terms in it, or 3 sections, and see if you know what to do with it. I'm trying to get y'all to quit.
Yeah. There's a hiring bonus at McDonald's.
Yep.
$100.
It's too late.
I'll take it.
That gets you a career at McDonald's. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
Just
and then,
first
and
dream
then
job or whatever.
Now I have an ex-cousin-in-law,
ex-cousin.
and he went to McDonald's University. I'm serious. He did.
There's an
And he's got two McDonald's now. He has franchise ownership of 2 McDonald's. So he's bringing in money.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the people that go out and get a part-time job that's a high school/college job and try to make a career out of it. Don't make a career out of a high school job/college job.
That's not what those jobs are meant for.
Thank you. Whoever
Yeah.
said that? Who said that?
That's not what those jobs are.
I did,
But-
Jeff.
Thank you. But we either have 2 options. We can raise the bar and get people better jobs, or we can lower the bar and raise the minimum wage to where they'll make a career out of a high school or a college job. So, what would you rather do if it was your child? I would rather try to get my child a better job. Miss Crittenden is just, okay, she's on. Hold on. I'm trying to help Miss Crittenden out. She's not feeling well today. I think she drank too much this morning. I think she fell off the wagon. So I'm trying to help her out. So when she comes aboard, y'all don't say anything to her because
Not a word.
we can't tell her she's an alcoholic, okay? Okay, y'all, I'm kidding, all right? I'm kidding.
I got that.
Because some people have to be explained. Okay, where is she? Miss Crittenden, where are you?
Working on it.
There you are. I've already told people about your alcoholism and not being able to come to class today, so you don't have to. They won't give you a hard time about it. What is that behind you? Is that a map?
No, it's like a little whiteboard. I just write.
Oh, it looked like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I was being nosy. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right, so don't drink while you're on camera, okay?
I promise I won't.
Okay, cotangent of x, secant of x, sine of x equals uno.
My favorite kind.
All right, verify that. If you can't do it, then that just means you're disappointed. That's what I tell my children all the time. My daughter's a history major, Clemson. And did y'all hear him talking about Clemson on
They almost
Clemson? I don't want to talk about it. I just quit watching.
I
I
don't
quit
want to
watching.
talk about it. I feel
Anyway,
It was funny.
and she sent me a, what is it, midterm report card or whatever. And it's all A's and B's. And I said, you're only taking one test. It's only 3 weeks. You're going to fail. She said, thanks, Daddy. I said, you're welcome.
Did you really?
She knows I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, she's taking all underwater firefighting classes. I told her that, you know. History. Who needs history? It's a joke, people. It's a joke, okay?
Yeah.
When you're in the military people take pot shots at each other. Well, when you're in academia, we take pot shots at each other too. Like, any of y'all had Chad Gregory for a class?
Yep.
Will Ferrell, I give him a hard time because he teaches history and he'll come in to the Polycom after my class tomorrow. And I'm like, why are you still meeting with these people? Can't you just give them like an assignment and give them a grade because your class is so easy? And he's like, whatever. And then he'll take a pot shot about math, and we do things like that. So it's a joke. I have to tell people things are a joke because nobody has a sense of humor these days. Buttercups and daisies and snowflakes. They have no sense of humor, and everything is serious. Why so serious? I love Heath Ledger as the joker. Why so serious? All right, so what's cotangent? Well, let's go over to our handy dandy cosine over sine. So we just write that as cosine over sine. And what is the secant? Well, that's the 1 over the what? 1 over the cosine. And then what is the sine? Sine over what? And see, that's what people forget to do. They forget to write the sine over 1. And what happens to the handy-dandy sines? And the cosines. And you're left with 1 is equal to 1.
It's beautiful.
Okay? So again, a lot of it falls on your basic math. Now, there's 2 types of people in here. There's one person that's going, okay, I'm remembering how to do this. And that's who I'm teaching to. The other person that invented this, you're saying, I'm bored. You won't be.
You won't be.
I'll just make you a very, 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 very strong promise you won't be.
Extremely.
I'm trying to find my little arrow. There we go. And besides, you invented trigonometry, so you don't have anything to worry about. Cosine squared minus sine squared equals 1 minus 2 sine squared x. Now, you may be very intimidated by this, but you don't have to be, because it's actually just 2 or 3 steps. So, I'm going to give you about a minute to work on it. Of course, you can do it several different ways, because you can use the right side, or you can use the left side. You can use 1 term, you can use 3 terms, there's different ways to write it. But I'm gonna, what is predominant in the question, sine or cosine?
Sine.
So we're gonna keep it simple, and we're not gonna worry about the sine because that's extra what? Because you got two of them versus one. So we're gonna attack the one. Dang old wolves, dang old sheep, dang old pick the one, okay, the weakest one. You're gonna pick the cosine, and you're gonna rewrite it as 1 minus the what? All right, finish it.
Is it possible to do this in one step?
It's pretty simple. What happens to the signs? They combine. Thank you, class. 1 minus 2 sine squared x is equal to 1 minus 2 sine squared x.
It's just simple algebra.
It's simple algebra to you, but it may not be simple algebra to everybody, but I know what you're saying.
Okay, so
The algebra skills that you have makes up 90% of the problem. Okay? Like I said, we'll get there. We'll be like, what? Huh? What'd you do? How'd you do that? I thought y'all invented this stuff.
It is. Nope.
no, I built the rocket.
Oh, you built a rocket. Actually, I'm going to tell y'all a story.
I'm making
I had
a time machine.
I had an ex-mother-in-law that said that she invented the first computer. And she said, no, I ain't gonna say what she said.
Oh, please.
No.
Please,
Just this once.
It had to do with the space shuttle. That's all I'm gonna say. Secant of x minus secant of x sine squared of x is equal cosine of x. All right? Take a minute and work with that one. Can these be intimidating just looking at them? Yes, very. First thing you do when you look at one of these is say, put everything in terms of sine and cosine. Put everything in terms of sine and cosine. Everything that you can put in terms of sine and cosine. Say that at least 3 or 4 times when you start one of these. Well, you know the secant is equal to 1 over cosine, so rewrite it. 1 over the cosine. Minus 1 over the cosine, sine squared over 1 equals cosine of x. Now, you may notice that I put a lot of extra steps in. I put a 1 under the sine. Why? Because if you don't, you might think that that secant and that sine squared, you might think that that's plus or minus. Okay? When you're doing things on a test or doing homework, you've got to make sure that you understand what's being done. Could you factor out a secant? Yes, you could, but that's more complicated. Remember, the first step is not factor out. The first step is to put everything in terms of sine and cosine. All right? Now I'm going to rewrite this as 1 over cosine minus sine over what? Cosine equals cosine of x. Sorry. Now, the next step is one that students get wrong. Somebody tell me what the next step is.
Is it to combine the terms on the left?
Combine the what? Starts with an N.
The numerators.
The numerators combine. See, students forget, oh, well, if I've got x over 4 minus y over 4, then I can do x minus y over 1/4. And they forget to do it. 1 minus sine squared over cosine. And what's 1 minus sine squared? 1 minus sine squared is what? Cosine squared over cosine, which is cosine. And don't forget, put your X. Now, there's 7 students here. There's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There's 20 students in this class. I guarantee you there's probably 5 or 6 of y'all that are looking at that real good going, okay, I see what he's doing there. I see what he's doing there. And that's the people I'm teaching to. Because if everybody knew the material, then how many people would be in the class? None.
Priority 1 message coming in.
Well, that's not Miss Crittenden, so I wonder who that is. Make sure it's not another student wanting to. Nope. Not another drunk student. Just my mother. She's drunk. She's drunk again. Yeah, she's like 76, and now she's hitting the bottle pretty. She's hitting the bottle pretty bad. Yep. By the time I get through, you'll be able to go through the 9.1 homework with ease.
I like that.
Let's just hope there's not 50 questions on it.
That's 30.
There you go.
Yay.
I'm going to rewrite the left side. Why? Well, I mean, you can rewrite either side you want to, but I'm just going to pick a side, and I'm going to pick the left side. I'll even start you off. Cosecant is 1 over the sine. So again, we got to have a common what? Common denominator. What's the common denominator of sine and 1? Sine. Sine will go into sine 1 time. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 will go into sine times. Sine times sine is sine squared. So now we've got what? 1 minus sine squared over sine, and that's equal to cotangent cosine. Or you can take this out. What is 1 over the sine?
1 over is cosecant.
Okay, wait a minute, no. Sine squared. Sine will go into sine. I think I did that. Did I write something down wrong? Okay, yeah. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish it out. 1 minus sine squared is what? What's 1 minus sine squared?
Cosine.
Cosine squared. So I'm going to stop right there and let y'all finish it. Cosine squared over sine. Now the reason I'm stopping is for a reason. I want you to try to figure out how to get from there to the next step. Take a minute and see if you can figure out how to get there. Because by now, you know how to rewrite cosine and sine. You know how to do that. But once you get to cosine over sine, what do you do to get the answer? Well, you got to go back to your basics of fractions. If I write a fraction of something squared over something, I can break that fraction up into its two individual parts. Factoring, right? So cosine squared is cosine what? Cosine over sine, right? Times cosine over what? 1. And I guarantee you somebody's writing that down right now because they don't have it written down like that. Because what is cosine times cosine? Cosine squared. And what is sine times 1? But if I ask you to break it up, if I ask you to take cosine squared over sine and break it up, some of you, the 5 or 6 that I was talking about a while ago, forget about their pre-algebra or their basic math where you break up x squared into 2 fractions. You factored it. And what is cosine over sine? It's a miracle. X and X. And that does equal cotangent cosine. So again, and I hate to keep saying it over and over, 10% identities, 90% algebra / basic math. How many of you have had pre-calculus or trig and really sucked at the identities? I was one. How many of you think you suck at pre-algebra and algebra and basic math, especially the fractions? I guarantee you don't have to raise your hand. I guarantee you most of the people that suck at identities, if I was to ask them, do you really like fractions? All of them would say no. And that's where you run into these problems. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I would say 100% of y'all understand what these mean. Oh, I can rewrite sine, or I can rewrite cosine, and I can rewrite. Y'all understand that. But what you don't understand, or what you have forgotten, is what comes after you rewrite, you put that cosecant in terms of the sine. That's what y'all suck at. So that's why I'm doing these over and over and over. I'm doing about 10 or 15 of them. Because I'm trying to knock loose those cobwebs of pre-algebra and basic math. And you'll find out, oh shoot, I bet it's going to delete that one. Let me see. Where is mine? No, it's not. I feel good about myself. That would be...
I feel so good about myself.
There it is. Okay, let's do a narrative.
I am fantastic.
Come again?
I said let's do a narrative. Nerding. That's the racist term. Cosine. Yeah, talk to your lawyer. Sue me. Secant over cotangent theta is equal to tan theta. All right, go to it. I'm going to work with the left-hand side. I would say probably 3 or 4 steps, maybe 5 steps if you write everything out. So, I'm going to rewrite two things. What am I going to rewrite? The secant and the cotangent. So I'm going to put an extra step in here. Cosine of theta over 1. Secant is 1 over the what? 1 over the cosine. Over the cotangent is cosine over sine. And that's equal to tan. Well, that cancels. We're left with 1 over cosine over sine. When you divide by a fraction, you multiply by the what? And multiply that 1 times sine over cosine. And that's going to give us sine over cosine, which is what? Sine over cosine is tangent. Question. All right, let's try number, I think this is number 10. I have them numbered. This is kind of like baptism by fire, just doing them over and over and over and over. But I want everybody to pass the Unit 2 test, and if you don't learn this first section, we just might as well just don't come for the second unit test. So, sine tangent equals 1 minus cosine squared over cosine. This one's pretty easy. Ohio State got outplayed for 3 quarters, and then Penn State just said, you know, we really don't want to win. We're going to let y'all score 3 times. And I guarantee you they're going to try to put dadgum Ohio State in the top 3. You wait and see what I tell you.
They are number 3.
I'm very disappointed in Clemson. So,
I'm glad to see Kentucky not be the whipping child for the SEC anymore. I'm proud of Kentucky. They're not going to beat out. They're not going to beat Georgia by no means.
We can hope.
Yeah.
Let's Virginia back up a little bit more.
We can hope he's going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. I would put money on Georgia versus Kentucky. I would put money on that one, and it wouldn't be on Kentucky.
What about the fight coming up Saturday? McGregor and
I'm waiting for Fury against Deontay Wilder. I'm anxious to see that fight. I think I might pay for that one. Well, it'll probably be like $100. Dang old boxing matches done got high. But I ain't kidding you. Deontay Wilder, he's tough. So, what do you write the sine? What do you write the tangent of? Oh, sine over what?
Sine over cosine.
Sine over cosine. I think Alabama beat Burns this weekend, didn't he?
nobody too young.
That's what I meant. Alabama beat up on Burns. Sine over cosine. So that'd be sine squared over cosine. And how can you rewrite sine squared?
1 minus cosine squared.
Oh, y'all are so confident.
So far, this is the only one that I
The only one that you struggle with?
did not struggle with.
Oh. That might be because you might be learning it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Well, at least one person will tell me. Thank you. All right, let's try nerd. For those of you that don't know what that means, We are going to try another one.
Okay.
Y'all got it?
Yep.
Another one.
Another one.
Another.
William. Belton. I'm from Belton.
Don't stop.
Sorry, I thought we were going with the DJ Khaled.
What?
Another.
All right.
Another stop.
Some people around here have no idea what we're talking about. I'm from Honeypath.
What?
Honeypath? Where is Honeypath? Sine squared. Sine squared 1 plus cotangent squared x equals 1. Now you're going to use something different here. And you're not going to use reciprocal or quotient. So that leaves it to the Pythagorean. Okay, so take a look at the Pythagorean, rewrite, and see what you get.
Okay.
So just wondering, who does Alabama play this week? And who does Georgia play? Who does Clemson play?
I don't know which Forest or Clemson.
I'm sorry, I heard.
Sorry, Clemson plays Wake Forest.
Florida State?
Wake Forest.
Oh, Wake Forest.
Alabama plays Arkansas.
Okay, that's going to be another cupcake bowl for them.
Clemson plays Wake Forest.
That's a cupcake bowl.
You want a Georgia too?
Yeah, well, who's Georgia play?
Vanderbilt.
I think this is the first year that there's a lot of
Yeah, they're playing good.
there's a lot of teams that really suck. Even in the SEC. In the SEC, usually everybody's pretty good. But
Plays Arkansas. It's gonna be a good game.
you think?
No.
You think Alabama's going to be able to? I mean, Arkansas is going to be able to do anything against Alabama?
No.
Yeah.
You think? I mean, Arkansas is pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going to last against
No,
Alabama. I don't know. In fact, if you want to know the trick about it, I don't know who's going to win between Alabama and Georgia.
You know how much tickets are going?
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
For Arkansas game. They're going for $12.
Oh my Lord! How about South Carolina? Who they going to get beat by?
Let me find it.
I hate to say it, but until they get some money and buy a coach, hire a coach, they're not gonna- buy a coach, hire a coach, whatever.
They can run it.
They got to get off the hip if they want to win championship.
Oh, they're going to lose.
Yeah, they're gonna lose.
Who's they gonna play?
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri probably gonna beat them. Well, what's the game? Who's LSU play? I'm trying to think of a game that's gonna be interesting to watch.
Who's Michigan playing?
Michigan's playing
Maryland.
Who does what did I just say? LSU. Who do they play? Probably Lafayette, Star Iowa or something. I can't believe Alabama played Louisiana Lafayette. I'm like, really?
Yeah, that was something.
What was it? 82-0?
Yeah. LSU's playing Florida.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I'll watch movies all weekend this weekend.
Oh, I saw the trailer for that Michael movie.
Michael Myers?
Yeah.
Halloween?
Why is the mom attacking him?
It's not the mom, that's his sister. Okay, you have to go back and watch Halloween 1, the original Halloween 1. Don't watch any others, because this one takes all of that.
Okay.
Okay?
I mean, you gotta find the movie.
Yeah, you have to find the movie. You just have to go to direct and type in Halloween. It's really hard.
Hey man, it is.
It's about like y'all printing out a Trig identity sheet. Oh, I gotta print it.
Identity sheet.
Sine squared times, what is 1 plus cotangent? Cosecant squared is equal to 1. All right, finish it. Okay, there's a reason. What do you do next? Well, just rewrite cosecant squared. Give y'all 30, it only takes one more step after that, so go ahead and finish it. Right now, the 5 students that were lost, now there's about 10 students that are lost.
Yep.
Okay? Why? Because you're not thinking, if I can write cosecant as 1 over the sine, then what can I write cosecant squared as?
Cosecant times.
1 over the sine what? The lady on the first row whispered it. Okay?
1 over sine squared.
1 over the sine squared. This is another thing students forget. If I have secant squared, I can rewrite it as 1 over the cosine squared. If I have cotangent squared, I can write it 1 over the tangent squared. If I have cotangent of 2 pi, I can rewrite it as 1 over tangent of 2 pi. Whatever the angle, and this is what students forget. Y'all take your highlighters. Whatever this angle is right here, and this angle right here, you can rewrite it right here. I don't care if it's square. I don't care if it says cotangent of square. I can rewrite cotangent of square as 1 over tangent of square. I can write cotangent of k is equal to 1 over cotangent of k. If you have a square, that doesn't mean you just sit there and stare at it. You go cosecant, okay, I can rewrite cosecant as 1 over the sine. Oh my gosh, look at this. What is sine over sine? 1. And 1 is equal to 1. And I guarantee you 10 of y'all did all of this right here, and then you just sit there and stare at it. Because you forgot one little point. Theta can be written as theta. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if if I had cotangent of the square root of theta, that'd be equal to 1 over tangent of the square root of theta. Whatever theta is, you just carry it over. You don't start thinking. Okay? You just carry it over. Dang old spraying WD-40 on those rusty chains. Some of y'all are like, what's WD-40? Settle down, Pendleton. Y'all know I can make this class really rough. Y'all know that, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. Y'all know those people that want, I could go over 3 sections today if y'all want me to. Still, nothing.
Baby invented.
Nothing but quiet. Secant squared x over tangent x is equal to secant x cosecant x. I'm going to rewrite the left side.
So when you say that, like you're going to rewrite the left side, does that mean that you don't do anything to the right side at all?
You can do it the other way if you want to, but I'm picking the left side mainly just because I can rewrite secant squared. I'm thinking of that.
I guess my question is like your intent is like you want one side to be as is, like you don't want to change.
And it doesn't matter which one you choose.
Okay, gotcha.
And you're going to take a little bit of what I just told you in the last problem and apply it here. So how can I rewrite secant squared of x?
You can write it as 1 over cosine squared.
1 over cosine squared of x over tangent can be written as sine x over cosine x. Now, I've given you all a little step. Now, you got a couple more steps after that. So what are you going to do next? Multiply by the reciprocal, and you get cosine x over sine of x. And that's going to give you what? Well, that's going to cancel the cosine. You're going to have 1 over cosine of x, sine of x. All right, what next? Okay, now we're back to the 5 or 6 students that's going to sit there and stare at it. Okay? But I can break that up into 1 over cosine times what?
1 over sine.
There you go. You'd be surprised how many students sit there and look at it and go, how am I going to get it to go to that? Well, you just break it up. And what's 1 over the cosine? There's something. 1 over the cosine is what? Secant. And what's 1 over the sine? Cosecant. And that's what it's equal to.
Do you even really have to break it up at that point? Because you can just flip it over the 1 anyway.
Yeah, you can. I'm just.
You can break it up, but you don't really.
I'm showing you why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm showing you why. You could easily say to yourself, okay, that's 1 over cosine times 1 over sine. You could do that in your head if you wanted to. But a lot of people just sit there and stare at it. You ever been in a pre-calculus class and you do 4 or 5 steps and you needed to just go 1 more step to get the answer, or you needed to go 2 more steps to get the answer? What I'm trying to tell you is, in the identity section of whether it's calculus or whether it's trig, the people do not miss the questions because they don't know the identities. They miss the questions because of 2 things: algebra and basic math, and they don't know when to apply what. That's just like that last step. A lot of you probably sat there, I mean, I won't say 5 or 6 because I don't want to insult everybody, but they look at that 1 over cosine x and sine x and they just stare at it and say, how am I going to get that to look like secant, cosecant? And again, some of y'all invented secant and cosecant, so it doesn't matter. All right, you ready for the nerd?
Yeah.
Well, I invented gravity.
Some of y'all might be like looking at these like puzzles. That's a good thing.
They are puzzles. I love it.
Tangent squared x. Oops. Tangent squared x over secant x is equal to secant minus cosine. secant squared minus 1 over secant. Secant squared over secant minus 1 over secant. That gives you secant minus what? What's 1 minus the secant, or 1 over the secant? Cosine, Hubert. Now I've seen 2 scribbles and 1 eraser. I can't see y'all up there at Pendleton. I can't see Miss Crittenden. I can't see easily. But here at the Anderson campus, we just had 2 scribbles and 1 eraser. In other words, somebody erasing furiously after I wrote the answer down. Why? Because some of you tried to write this as sine over cosine. All right? Now, can it be done? Yes, but it takes 6 or 7 more steps if you pick the wrong route. Well, how are you going to learn? The same way you learn how to stretch out your fingers to play a certain note on the dadgum piano or the dadgum dang old clarinet. It takes what? Practice. Practice. Which means you have to work. Yeah. There's a saying that people do not like. You get out of it, it's what you put into it.
It is true.
The only way to get good at these things is keep doing them over and over. That's why this first section we're doing like 13 problems. And hopefully you feel good about that. All right, let's do another one. Clamzon. 1 minus cosine over sine is equal to cosecant minus cotangent. Only got a couple more to do. Actually, this one's pretty simple. I'm going to break it up. Again, you got to know your fractional rules. 1 over the sine minus cosine over what? Sine. 1 over the sine is cosecant. Cosine over sine is cotangent. So that's one of the easier ones. All right, I'm going to move straight to the challenge problem. Just see if you can put 2 and 2 together. Well, I know the zipper fetishes are going to start pretty soon.
What time?
12:28.
Yeah, and some of y'all are going to start. Is it already?
Yeah.
Oh, class is over?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Water.
No, it isn't.
No, what time is it?
I don't remember.
It's 12:28, class is over, and
No, I thought, or it's class over at 12:35.
12:35.
Okay.
We got enough time. Let's do it.
One more.
Do it.
Yeah, because some of these people are going to explode. Tangent plus cosine over 1 plus the sine is equal to the secant. Now this is going to use something that you haven't seen today, but you've seen it in the past. So most of you are going to sit there and stare at it. Don't feel pregnant, because that's normal, because we haven't covered it today.
Are we?
I'm off the clock right now. No, you do not cross multiply or anything like that.
No, what you have to do is you have to get the same.
Now we're going to use something that you haven't heard probably since Math 110. Anybody have an idea what we use here? Okay, I'm waiting for the people that invented trigonometric identities to tell me. Anybody? C O N J, I think it's J. Conjugate. Good. Good for you. Conjugate. What is the conjugate? What is the conjugate of that denominator? Not 1 plus the sign. What?
1 minus sign.
1 minus the sign. So I'm going to rewrite this guy. I'm sorry, that wasn't identity. That was algebra. I'm going to rewrite this as tan plus cosine over 1 plus the sine. I'm going to put a little space here, equals secant. Then I'm going to take my handy dandy red pen and I'm going to multiply by 1 minus the sine over 1 minus the sine. Now use your algebra to do that. And that's going to give you shortcut number 3 on the bottom. Shortcut number 3 is the difference of two squares. A plus b equals a minus b is equal to 1 minus sine squared. So let's rewrite it. I got to hurry before spontaneous combustion starts. Tangent over 1 plus cosine minus cosine sine over 1 minus sine what? Squared is equal to the secant. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to go into cardiac arrest. No, I'm supposed to make you leave, aren't I?
Yeah.
Get out of here. How was that? Was that good?
It's very authoritative. Yeah.
Okay. All right, now what? Well, work on it. Change that bottom one to the 1. What is 1 minus sine squared? That's cosine squared, right? Leave. I tell you what. Let's not do this. I want to rewrite it a different way. I'm going to write it as tan plus cosine times 1 minus sine over, I'm going to put 1 minus sine squared right here. And that's going to be cosine what? Cosine squared. Okay, now work with it. Because what happens to the cosines? We're going to cancel, and that's going to leave you with tangent of x plus, okay, well, that's going to cancel, and leave a cosine down here. So that's going to be 1 minus the sine x over cosine, and I might be able to break that up. I don't know. What am I looking for? I'm looking for secant. Let's see what happens. Tangent of x plus 1 over the cosine minus sine over what? The cosine And what's sine over cosine? Hey, the tangents do what? They cancel out, and that leaves one. What is 1 over the cosine? Oh my gosh, it's a miracle. So, you used what first? You used an algebra concept of the conjugate before you even used anything about the identities. All right, that's our challenge problem for that. And you know how to do 9.1 right now, but I'm not going to worry about 9.1. We're going to worry about getting the test finished and getting the homework finished. So y'all get that done, and I'll see y'all. Okay. I'll see y'all Thursday. If you got any questions, stay after class. The rest of y'all have a good day.